from Austin. This was, last week we listened to the Nisargadatta, or a few weeks ago to the Nisargadatta meditation. Remember?
Last week, yeah.
Last week, right. And Nisargadatta said this. This is a quote from Nisargadatta, and Austin had a question on that. Nisargadatta said, if people knew that nothing could happen unless the entire universe makes it happen, they would achieve much more with less expenditure of energy. If people knew that nothing could happen unless the entire universe makes it happen, they would achieve much more with less expenditure of energy. And then Austin was wondering how is it supposed to mean, or how you take that? And he said, I take this to mean that in awareness we are just watching things happen. We are not identified, and identification leaks energy. And yeah, wanted to hear more thoughts on this. And also he says Nisargadatta was big, and that we are not the doer. So you brought this idea of not being the doer, and you said, but this needs to be verified. Well, I mean, there is this idea of, even with reason, like with human intelligence, and that's what in some non-duality, using higher reasoning to really use the best part of the intellect to understand something, and this idea that basically for me to be here and talk to you about these things, it first needed to be the universe and the Big Bang, and then the right conditions, so this earth were formed in the ocean, and then there was the amoeba, and then the reptilian things, and then there was, after thousands of years, there came humans and the caveman, and all these things happened, and then there were sages, and then there was Gurdjieff, and Gurdjieff brought this teaching, and I found this book, and then I did this, and then I'm here talking to you about this thing. So who did it? You know what I mean? It's this is the result of everything, all the unfolding of the universe.
And then we're sitting here.
Yeah, so to understand that also for everything what we take for granted, there's the sun needs to be here. There's the sun. Without the sun, if the sun will stop existing for a little bit, the whole thing will collapse here on this earth. So the sun is there, for the sun to be there, and the sun hits I saw a documentary, hits the ice caps and is reflected back. And the sun hitting the ice caps and being reflected back, it creates a pulse at the level of the ocean that creates currents. And then the currents, there's like the blood on the planet, and because of the currents there's so much life form, and so basically everything is depending on everything else, and it's the totality of the whole. So it's obviously that there's no doer at this level. It's the totality unfolding. It's the unfolding of the totality. Yeah, just a little bit more, sorry. So basically don't need to wait for too long for deep enlightenment to realize the illusion of a doer. One can dismantle a little bit even with science and higher reasoning. Also for experiential observation that, I'm not deciding what thought is going to come next. It's kind of happening. There's no chooser of the thought. There's no thinker of the thought. There's just these thoughts arise based on my whole lifetime of listening to other people's thoughts and trying to, so this is kind of happening. It's a happening. So it's the ocean. It's not one wave doing something. So I wanted to touch on this, the doer. This is a big topic in non-duality. Some teachings focus completely on realizing that there's no doer and there's the illusion of doing and all of that. I like at the Ashanti, somebody asked him about this. He said, you know, this question, this is like, there is free will, or yes, there's free will, and no, there's no free will. They are both true, and let's not focus about this. You know, this is like not relevant. I really like this. I don't want to go into this because, so what? You know. But coming back to the actual thing that Nisargadatta and Austin were asking me, if you knew that nothing could happen unless the entire universe makes it happen, they would achieve much more with less expenditure of energy. So in the self-contraction, in the second state, self-contraction, separate me, this is resisting. I'm resisting. I don't want. I'm upset. I want this in order to make me happy, and I don't want this, and it's dangerous. So there's a lot of churning that says no, resisting. This takes a lot of energy, a lot of leaking. Also, this no resisting, this will influence what we see. Because if I'm churning on they're all motherfuckers and they're all stupid, and then mysteriously I'm going to see them as stupid, and I'm going to keep having stupid people in my life. Yeah, so basically it's the goggles we have. Yeah, we are going to kind of, yeah, we are going to make it like that. So now practically, through loosening the self-contraction and realizing all of these things, and realizing that the happiness doesn't come from some stuff that I'm going to make happen. So for all of this, we are more like flowing with the Tao, basically. You know, Tao Te Ching was saying something like do nothing and everything falls into place. But for whom? It's for somebody who is aligned with the Tao. Is not resisting reality. Is not attached to the result.
Sounds peaceful.
I was trying a lot of manifestation, Abraham Hicks and all kind of teachings to manifest things years ago when I discovered these things, and I will do all this meditation, visualize these things, and then I manifested it. I wanted this 1200 GS BMW motorcycle, although I was broke and all that. So I made it happen. I got it. However, it's very stressful, and I made it happen, but at some point I realized that, you know, that takes a lot of energy and is not so useful. Like the ego thinks that if I get the BMW or if I get this woman, is going to make me happy. I work hard, maybe it manifests, but then I'm still not happy. Anyway, I gave all those up. I gave them up. I even had I have somewhere, yeah, I have a plaque that says meditation center, and on the back I wrote, this was 2012 or something, I wrote my vision plan for my life, and I'm going to do this and that. I'm going to, there's a bunch of stuff, you know, I follow the protocol. I'm going to own this property, I'm going to have rental income, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to travel, and I'm going to do these workshops, and I'm going to have paid clients, and I'm going to workshop. This was a long time ago, you know, and I was like, anyway, and I discovered it, and I read what I put there. It was like long time ago, and anyway, I realized that some of the stuff there didn't happen because I don't care about these things. I don't care about fucking having a property and income property. It's not in, I don't care. I mean, it would be nice to have money, and, you know, but so some of those things, they were false desires. They were not mine. I was some kind of real estate workshop, and I got, you know, all of the other stuff happened, very much so. But my point here is that at some point I gave up doing this intentional manifestation techniques. I gave it all up. And then I just focused on the inner spiritual work, and I kind of realized a bunch of stuff. And then I started to follow my deepest heart, enthusiasm. So basically, all those things happened because I was more like from the heart and with the love, not trying to squeeze something out of something. Does it ring a bell or touch you something, Austin?
Yes, the question on about Nisargadatta and you know, watching everything as it happens, right? When I observe myself, or when I'm just looking objectively, it doesn't have to be as like the subject. I'm just observing, right? Just a little bit of self-observation will tell you how much investment there is in the me, right? And this is what you had told me in the voice note, right? Like how much energy is invested in and wasted in the me. And one of the things that I verified for myself when when I lived in Peru for some time was thought. Just thinking is an expenditure of energy. And so if things are happening and to every experience or every circumstance or every moment to moment, there's thought attached to that. There's so much expenditure of energy just in that exchange. And then you add in the me, you add in the emotion, and you add in the anger, and you add in the frustration, and you add in the constant stream of that. There's so much expenditure of energy there, right? And so if we're looking at things as they're happening and we're just observing and we're just really present to what's happening, and there's not this always this radio interference of thought constantly interrupting reality as it's being perceived, then there would be less expenditure of energy. And essentially that's what this work is about, right? Let's say your life goal was I want to pray and I want to be in this unceasing prayer with God, and I want to be in this unceasing union to just be with this beingness, or just to be with this universe, this oneness. There needs to be some sort of there needs to be energy to do that. And so if we're expending all the energy, then you have no energy to work, then you have no energy to pray, then you have no energy to invest in that. And so I think now just hearing you, I'm putting some dots together with that. So yeah, that is making a lot of sense.
Yeah, you're right. And when you're sick, I mean, I don't know, when you're sick or some kind of, in some way, you can verify how, you can see how actually thoughts are expanded and it's painful. Sometimes when you are some bodily discomfort and stuff, you're sick, and then there's another thought comes, it's like, no, now I have energy for that somehow. You know, you can actually verify what you said, that the thought, these thoughts are leaking energy, and this is the planning of the future and trying to make it happen, the trying. All of this is again the self-contraction, grasping as a, basically as a separate me. We have very little power because we are pushing, you know. But if, yeah.
It's also like being sick. Like being sick is enough in and of itself. Then there's the thought of fuck, I'm sick, I can't work, I'm not gonna make money, I'm useless, you know, people have to take care of me, and that sort of there's some association to being sick and to falling into like more of a descending octave, right? And that also takes up some energy. And so I almost hear as I'm saying that, like, you know, sometimes being sick isn't even enough. There needs to be something, there needs to be a negative aspect associated to that. And that could be any circumstance really of whatever is happening there seems to be the mechanism of thought is associating the me with what's happening. And so there's a space between that with self-observation, with self-remembering. There's a conservation of energy in that. The more we can create more gap and more energy, then the better off we'll be to just be and just experience and just let things happen and to observe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel I answered quite explain with this Nisargadatta, but what comes up here is that really in sleep, we are a very ineffective machine. It's a very ineffective, inefficient thing because there's so much this pushing against reality and rejecting our emotions and fearing, and there's a lot of unnecessary expenditure. So somebody who is more awake or awakening or more awake, a lot of this unnecessary stuff diminishes. So there's life is easier, basically. Life is much easier and more effortlessly